state of the Triangle job market from the Frankel Staffing Partners point of view, but I'm going to focus primarily on what I'm hearing from small business owner clients of ours and small business owner prospects of ours who are considering utilizing us to help make hiring decisions. And we'll interject from time to time with some agency perspective and some candidate perspective to help with setting the framework. Again, I'm Will Barfield with Frankel Staffing Partners. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development here, and you can tell by the abbreviations there, I couldn't fit the whole title on the slide. Been with this company for 10 years, so there's only so many promotions internally that are possible. Eventually we just get to adding more words to the title on an annual basis, so I can only imagine how much more room I'll need in the coming years. Been with the company since October of '04. I'm currently, and have been for the last decade, a quota-carrying outside sales manager as well as a sales recruiter. So I'm out pursuing business. I'm calling on clients trying to bring in work, manage at least one sales rep at any given point in time, and then moonlight in sales recruiting. Active in several local volunteer fundraising and leadership capacities with area nonprofits, professional associations. Do that really for Frankel branding purposes primarily, and also the personal brand. Founding member of Oak City B2B, which is a local leads exchange club that's primarily made up of outside salespeople like me and other business owners. And we get together once a month and exchange leads and try and refer work to one another. And through some of my success with Frankel and in my work out in the community, I was fortunate enough to earn recognition from the TBJ last year as one of the 40 under 40 executives here in the Triangle. Quick and dirty on Frankel Staffing Partners, founded in August of 1994. We're a white-collar boutique staffing firm focusing on temporary, temp-to-hire, and direct placement work. Target clients primarily small to mid-sized, locally headquartered companies. So we're going after speedboats in this market, not battleships. Heavy concentration of clients in biotechnology and life sciences, software and tech, and professional services. And clarifying on software and tech, not so much of the IT placement on the development side, really heavy on inside sales in the software space. And professional services, that would be your law firms, CPA shops, financial services. Work on positions at almost every level from entry to VP. And our lines of business include administration, accounting and finance, sales and marketing, scientific and clinical, human resources, IT, and more. We kind of have a take-all-comers approach in the white-collar space, from a one-day assignment to something much, much more permanent. State of the Triangle job market. I mentioned earlier that I'm looking at this through the lens of an agency that targets small business, but I also feel like our area job market is powered by small business. We've got a lot of, we've got 3 great universities here. We've got a lot of entrepreneurially minded people, and we've got venture capital firms that are making investments in growing companies. There's a lot of energy around small business, and it really has been what, in my opinion, has driven our recovery here. Job market's quite healthy. Again, being driven by those small, emerging, locally headquartered firms. Our job requisitions are increasing at a rapid rate, and I'm also seeing the job postings online increasing as well. That means that competition for talent is extremely high at the moment. We are seeing more and more companies turning or returning to recruitment services like us for assistance. So, I would say maybe 2 years ago in Q1, I probably was averaging about 2 unsolicited contacts through our website from local small businesses contacting us, asking us for help. Hey, Frankel Staffing Partners, found you on Google. See what you guys do. Can you help us fill this position? Maybe 2 a month. Right now, if I look back at the numbers for Q1, 14 was averaging about 6 a week. So the requests from the market are on the increase, and more folks are finding the search for candidates challenging, and they're asking for assistance. And clients that have not used us in a while are returning and saying, hey, posting a job right now is not like posting a job in 2012 or 11 or 10. And we're running into more pain, and we need more assistance. I'm also talking a lot, networking with other local staffing agencies and commiserating with them about the jobs that they've got on the deck and what they're trying to do. And so we're communicating back and forth about the increase they're seeing also. Primary problems facing the hiring process right now, couple things. For niche specialized positions they're very specific. What I'm hearing from small businesses, I'm getting the low applicant volume. You know, posted it on LinkedIn and on our company website, and I've got very few applications, and so not enough traffic for me to do anything with yet. Or for broad postings or more general positions, I'm hearing that there's an overflow of off-target applicants. So, you know, they're overwhelmed by the number of folks that are applying that aren't even, you know, close to what they need, and trying to navigate their way through that morass of applications that's inaccurate is, you know, slowing them down, making it much less efficient. The person that you want to hire, the person that we are trying to help our clients hire, is probably working somewhere else right now. It's not as much about good talent being on the bench. Most of the placements that we're doing right now are folks who are working somewhere else and kind of quietly, passively looking. And aggressive, attractive companies are the ones that are winning the battle right now, and they're out in front in terms of snagging talent.
Hey, Will.
Yes.
So, in kind of reading through this, I mean, does it look to you more like people are? It sounds like people are willing to hire because obviously you're seeing an uptick in requisitions, but it sounds like kind of people are fighting over the same talent pool versus bringing people back into the job market. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I met with a prospect 2 days ago, Tuesday morning early, and he's in the construction industry, and I'm thrilled, by the way, that I'm getting calls from the construction industry, both residential and commercial. That's a marvelous sign, because that has probably been the one industry sector that has been the slowest to come back. He was telling me, you know, I don't need you now. I actually just filled a position. It's a manager level role. But he said it come down to one candidate, and that candidate had 3 offers, mine and 2 others, 2 other competitors. And I got him, but I had to pay more than I budgeted to get him in here. So it is, to your point, yes, more about the competition over, you know, the desirable talent than, you know, there being that much desirable talent on the bench. And you go back to, you know, 9 and 10, there were some really good people that for, you know, situations beyond their control lost their positions, downsizings, what have you. And so there was some really good talent on the bench, and I was pulling a lot of people out of unemployment and doing placements. But that, you know, I've not been doing much of that at all in, you know, the last 18 to 24 months probably. Current methods of recruitment. So this is across the board. You know, whether it's an agency or whether it's a, you know, small, medium, large company, you know, just ways you can go about it. Utilization of the local referral pipeline. So, you know, asking someone you trust, someone who's a fellow small business owner or a friend or a leader somewhere that's in another industry or maybe the same industry, and saying, you know, hey, I'm going to be looking for X. You know, here's what the job description looks like. If you know anybody that, you know, is looking, or you want to recommend, or you hear about, you know, would you send them my way? Our best fills, quite honestly, are coming from us doing that, just on a much larger scale. In-house searchable applicant tracking databases. So, you know, some companies will be large enough that they have, you know, some kind of tool that they use that may be web-based, and they have applicant flow coming in, and they tag everything, track it, save it, and then they can search for it later. Others I talk to that especially are, you know, small companies, they will use a, you know, Excel spreadsheet or some other kind of program and just track who came in and when, and timestamp it and make sure that they, you know what they're looking at, and that have something they can go back to when in 3 or 4 months later, you know, like this resume, good-looking person, you'll probably use them at some point. You need to have a reference resource to go back to. And that you can use that to make, you know, send email blasts out of. Like, you know, that maybe you have 15 or 20 folks that applied for, you know, you weren't looking, but they sent a resume in for an accounting position, and then you go back to that, you know, cut and paste, and you send out an email to all those folks, say, hey, you contacted us, you know, within the last 90 days, and we actually happen to be looking. External job boards, so Monster, Career Builder, Indeed, Craigslist. Hearing more and more from the folks I'm meeting with, a couple things. One, that they're having good success with Indeed, with the kind of pay-as-you-go model. Two, that they were fine with Craigslist when it was free. I mean, they knew they were going to get a smattering of oddities through that, and then some really good nuggets in there on occasion. Maybe a little bit more hesitant to just throw a job out there for at $25 a pop now, but still have some folks that are using that with some regularity. That would include us, because there are some people you can access on there that are really good finds. And Monster and Career Builder, we use those frequently and constantly, but I am finding that companies are giving me a mixed bag of results on those. I think really it has to do a lot with how well constructed the job description is, and how attractive they make themselves look in the way they present the company as to whether or not they get the applicant flow they're looking for. But I'd say that Monster and Career Builder are probably, I say to folks, they're much more blunt instruments than they used to be in terms of just the way that recruiting is advancing technology-wise. Social media avenues, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You got a company page on LinkedIn, and then you post a job on there. Several clients of mine who use that, and they'll go that route for a couple weeks and see what they get before they even reach out to us, and have found some really good candidates from that.
Hey, Will, this is something that that I've thought about, and I've been almost too afraid to ask or do. I know LinkedIn has paid position postings, but is it acceptable just to throw something out there, share with your group that, hey, I've got this position open?
I have some clients that have done that, yes. Just done it as a kind of a post this, and then maybe put a link in there that feeds back to their website, and that's where the application process happens.
Gotcha.
And then Facebook and Twitter, that anytime you're on that social media, and you know this very well, Eric, and you include a link back to your website, that's just, it's good, because it feeds. The more links back to your site, the more traffic, the higher you show up in SEO. And a lot of the candidates that clients of mine that are trying to access, or us, especially if they're sub 35, sub 30, they live a lot by Facebook, Twitter, and their mobile phone. So, those methods are, they're looking for, fast activity, quick hit. Oh, look at that. This company I'm following just posted a job on Facebook. So they get a notification, they click on it like, oh, that interests me, and then they, respond. And they do all that, in the parking lot at the mall. Job fairs. So still have some clients and small business owners of mine that are doing job fairs, going to the colleges, using things like CED or other entities, ECPI, that may have job fairs going on, and just paying attention to feeds from the Triangle Business Journal and others about events that are coming up, so they can maybe invest in a tabletop and spend a couple hours there and just see what happens. And that the job fair value is really going to be tied primarily to the candidate base that you expect to attend, and whether or not the folks that are there are the kind of folks that you want to access. So people are tending to do their research on that first. External networking events. So to mention Triangle Business Journal, they have biz mixes and other things that they promote. I get their daily feed, so I can keep an eye on what's happening. Raleigh Chamber, Durham Chamber, other area chambers of commerce have networking events. There are places to just go out and be seen. The more that you're seen, the more that you network, and the more frequently you network in those places, the more familiar and recognizable you become, the more folks you encounter. One conversation today leads to a referral tomorrow, leads to a candidate. And then old-fashioned word of mouth. Just doing the right thing and talking to the right people and keeping the image high, and when you kind of send a quiet word out to the network, maybe it is through Facebook, and somebody who you've worked with before that had a great impression of you says, hey, I really liked Eric when I met him in that thing. I'm going to tell a friend of mine about this.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen, Will.
Oh, well, maybe not with you. Perhaps I should use another example.
Hey, look, here's the question that came up, and you mentioned research when you talked about job fairs, but And the question is, how much effort are you seeing candidates putting into researching the companies they're applying to?
I think it depends on the level of experience of the candidate. I think your folks that have a little bit more work experience and have been out in the world and have some wisdom tend to prepare fairly well for the job interview or the application to the company compared to someone that may be fresher to the job market. That's a great question, and several thoughts come to mind. There are people who apply for the sake of applying. I'm going to spray my resume to as many of these jobs I see online as possible. I'm going to go shotgun. I don't know if I'm a fit or not. I don't even know what they do, but maybe somebody will see me and respond. So there are folks that do that and do that serially and repeatedly. There are folks who will really do their homework, and I have some people that email me on occasion, and they'll say, hey, Will, I saw this company. I looked at them online. They really their mission and the things that they do out in the community really appeal to me. They had this job posted. I don't think I'm necessarily a fit. Do you have any recommendations on how I might approach them? Do you happen to know anybody who works there, work in the network? And I was on the phone with a candidate this morning prepping them for a job interview, and this is somebody who's in their early 20s. And, had to say, do your research on the company. Do your research on the person you're going to talk to on LinkedIn. Come to the interview with something to write with and something to write on. And have some notes prepared and be ready. Now, that person didn't directly ask me those questions if they needed to do those things, but I'm so trained, especially with the folks who are earlier in their career, to say those things because I don't want them to go in, show up the interview with no resume and nothing to write on and look underprepared. So that's a very broad, wandering answer to your question, but I hope I've touched on several things there. I think it varies depending on the level of candidate applying, but I'd say, on the whole, the more experienced, more savvy folks are going to do their research first. But you're going to get all kinds when you post a job. So identification of talent. So when you are a small business owner, you are hiring manager at a small company, you're trying to identify whether or not the talent flowing to you through your job posting or through email or through referral is what you need, things that you look for, ask. Does the resume and the associated initial outreach represent the applicant well? Okay. Resume formatting, typos, spacing, design, the email that they sent, well written, is there any content at all? Maybe they called by phone first, and that was their initial outreach, and then they ask if I can apply for this position. Do they sound professional on the phone? Do they convey themselves well? Is the package one where the resume and the communication and the individual, at least in the beginning, seems like a good start overall, or are there some concerns right out of the gate?
Yeah, and Will, I think that's a big pet peeve for me too, because we do our own thing here, and if I get emails with improper grammar or stuff like that, just boom, turns me off from the get-go. While on the other side, if people take a minute to put complete sentences together in the email, at least in a thank you email after we've done a phone interview, that to me is really what I'm looking for, not so much what they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm a journalism major. That's what I went to school for. So any abuse of the English language hurts me to my heart. But when you get that first exchange and that email is just, they send it to you like they're sending you a text message, man, it just makes my...
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a generational thing or whatever, but you can just file it under unprofessional.
Correct. Does the experience background fit one or more of the current potential needs? The resume that I have received appear to be even close to the target zone for the job that I posted. I posted for, I'm a small business owner. I needed an office manager, and I got a resume for someone that has primarily a blue-collar background. Right. Obviously, experience background does not fit my potential need. So, and that goes back to your question on the previous slide of, are they doing their homework on the company? Probably not. They're probably not researching the job or the company in that scenario. They're just spraying. Does the applicant appear to be a good communicator? We just talked about that, written, verbal, prompted, and unprompted responses. Unprompted being that thank you note, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm old-fashioned that way too. I like handwritten. But at the very least, it's nice to follow up with a thank you email and try and do that within 24 hours.
Yeah, one of the best hires we've ever made here. We interviewed her, and she was awesome. And gosh, it was like 2 days later, she stopped by the office and dropped off just a little thank you card, and I was blown away.
Yeah, I had this was a story from one of my clients. They made a hire, not through me, but they were hiring for a marketing position at the American Kennel Club, AKC. And they did an interview and for a marketing job, and the follow-up was that the interviewee came by the next day. Didn't ask for the interviewer, but left a note. And the note was she had gone to the store and bought one of those rawhide bones and taken some ribbon that was the color of the AKC logo and tied it around the bone and paper hole punched the note and written in the card, "I'm doggone excited about this job." Right? So there's a really awesome unprompted response for a marketing position that's going to convey in that moment that this is somebody we need to stick close to. And they did, and they loved her. She's still there. Does the applicant come from a trusted source, recommended by somebody in your network, somebody you know, or through someone else that the person you know trusts very well? That's probably a good sign if you're getting a strong recommendation from a trusted source that this person's got the talent. Does the information between the lines tell a compelling, marketable story? The things to look for in a resume, do we have some honors and awards? Do we have some community participation? Do we have some maybe some collegiate athletics or fraternity or sorority leadership? Eagle Scout? Does the track of the resume from one job to the next, appear to be heading somewhere? And does this person appear to, have a goal? You can tell that by looking at the resume, and you can see very quickly if there's fits and starts, and things just seem to go off course and it doesn't make sense. But if there's something about the resume that's compelling, then that raises the likelihood that you've got some talent there. Qualification. So now they've applied. We like the story. Their initial communication was good. We bring them in, and I'm as a hiring manager, I'm going to try and qualify whether or not this person has got the talent for this job. Do the skills, experiences, measurables, and educational achievements on the applicant's resume fit tightly with the position requirements? So is this person a match for a high percentage of the requirements that I've posted? There's the necessary or required, and then there's a preferred, and I'm finding more and more that preferred is actually required, but they put preferred on there and pretend it's preferred. But more and more companies are really trying to hire just the right person, and so it's a difficult match to get all the skills and experiences and measurables in there. So that, they're certainly going to want to come as close to the target as possible. When I get the phone call, or when an agency gets a phone call, and they're paying us a premium to help hire this person, tend to find that the client is even more particular about making sure that we check as many boxes as possible. Does the applicant interview well, both over the phone and in person? So, you had that initial conversation. Maybe you did a phone screen off the resume submittal, and then either you did it or you had someone on your staff do it, and they said thumbs up, and then they came in. Did they show up on time? Were they dressed appropriately? Did they handle tough questions well? Did they shift a lot in their seat? How was the eye contact? Does the story on paper, especially between the lines, match the story in person? And again, is it still compelling and marketable, when I ask about, if I'm the small business owner, when I ask about the, I see here, the last job, was less than a year. Can you tell me what's led you to this moment, and how things went there, and why you think that we're a fit for you? How do they deal with questions about gaps in the resume? Or I was thinking about this, and I love it when someone puts, if there's a gap, we'll put in that gap on their resume, maybe in italics, in some way set it off. Laid off for this reason, moved, had a sick family member, gives me an explanation between the lines about why this particular story is unfolding the way it is on paper. And then, then you have less issue with addressing that in the interview because you've already got your answer. Are there flags? And there are always flags. Are the flags minor enough for the applicant to overcome at the next level in the process? So maybe there's a couple jobs in there that were less than a year. But when we dig in the interview and they talk about the fact that, well, the company closed down, and then I really needed to find work, and I made a quick decision and took a job, and it was at another place that I didn't ask enough questions, and found out that they were in financial trouble too, and we ended up, the owner closed the shop, and so I have 2 jobs on my resume. It's less than a year, but that track record previous to that is solid. So there's some flags, but those are minor enough for us to decide to move this person through to the next level. The referring resource, right? So that trusted person, are they willing to stand in support of the applicant? So is it just, hey, I'm passing this person to you? I had this resume sitting on my desk. It might be a fit, or is it, hey, I know this guy or gal, and I think they'd be a great fit for your company, Eric, because of reasons X, Y, and Z, and feel me a call and ask me some questions. So now verification of talent. So we've qualified there's some talent there. Now verification, sitting in the interview, has the applicant actually done what he or she claims they have done? The resume can be beautifully constructed and tell a fabulous story about all the myriad of things that they've done in their career. When we ask about, okay, you said you've done this and you're skilled in these particular software programs, when you ask the questions that you need the answer to, how do they handle that? We have in-house testing, and I have some clients that have some testing, skills testing. I'm not talking personality testing yet, but skills testing that they will put somebody through. Answer this questionnaire, do this small little homework project for us. We got this little math worksheet, whatever it is that's relevant. Do they test well? And if you don't have a skills testing program, you don't have to go to something really robust, but it certainly would help to, when they go in for maybe it's a second interview, but when they go in at some point, see if they can verify what they've done. If it's a sales hire, and they say, I sold this many millions of dollars in sales, that's great. Well, what was your goal? How does that, I need context. How does that compare? If you sold $1 million and your goal was, $3 million, then that's not so great. So what's the context? How did you do against your peers? Do you have any spreadsheets that you can provide to me that show me, what your performance metrics were and how you did, and letters of recommendation from previous managers? I'm seeing more and more folks interviewing for jobs bringing a brag book with them, a binder that shows, here's some emails that talk about, what I accomplished and how well I did at this. So that certainly is somebody who's done their preparation. Bleeds into the next point, are they a subject matter expert in the areas that are most critical? As I mentioned earlier, the clients who are coming to the agency are usually really wanting us to hit the nail on the head. And, this market's more about depth of specificity than it is about breadth of experience. So our clients are looking more for specialists, not just skilled generalists. And so the ability to be a subject matter expert in a particular software program or with a particular accounting skill, what have you, is more and more questions like that are popping up in interviews. Can the references and that possible referring resource back up the applicant's claims to the abilities and accomplishments? Has the applicant owned the interview process in all phases, written, verbal, and in person, and one over his or her recruiter or his or her hiring manager or the owner of the company. Have you, as a GM or the CEO, once you have wrapped everything up, the first written exchange, how they conveyed on the phone, how they handle themselves in person, did they win at every level? And does the package match up nice and tight and neat? And are they marketable and compelling? If so, we've made the transition from someone being an applicant to a candidate. We've verified at this point that we've got the right person in our sights. So I mentioned earlier that we are job market-wise. We're in a candidate's market. And things that I have used in conversations with other agencies, but primarily my small business clients and my small business prospects. Salaries are on the rise. Mentioned that in that story a few minutes ago from my meeting on Tuesday. Applicants, again, for broad general position postings are on the rise, but the percentages of candidates per applicant are on the decline. So where you may have 200 resumes come in for a job, especially if it's a broad posting, we are finding from folks we're talking to that they feel like the number of viable candidates as a percentage of that applicant pool are diminishing. And they're having to look harder and dig deeper and vet further to pull, a couple of really good people out of a stack of several. On the flip side, applicants for specific and niche positions are on the decline. So small companies are finding, I believe, from what I'm hearing, that when they, post their really, specific and particular job, that they're not seeing the flow of interested applicants that are viable and looking that they were, 6, 12, 18 months ago. Best candidates are working somewhere else right now. We talked about that. So from our Frankel perspective, a lot of the fills that we're making are folks who are currently employed somewhere and for whatever reason, looking. Candidate life cycle length in pipeline is decreasing, and that's for all of us. So small company, they've got a multi-stage interview process. We want to bring you in and meet with the person in this department, then we want to bring you back into a team interview, and then we want to bring you back and meet with the COO, and then we want to bring you back and meet with the CEO. Well, if that process takes several weeks, because the life cycle length in the recruiting pipeline for these talented, desirable candidates is decreasing, you're probably going to lose some people that you want before the process ends. Or if you say, we want to may get 3 people all the way through this interview process and have, a selection to choose from. Well, it is very unlikely you're going to make it all the way through that process and have 3 people still remaining to choose from. And that's hard because you want to. I don't want to just pull the trigger on. I want to have a point of comparison. But your top 2, by the time you get the second one through the whole process, you may have lost the first. These candidates, the ones I was just talking about with the short life cycle length, why is that? They have multiple options in play at one time. So they're not just applying for your job, they're applying for several. And they're not just in multiple interview phase with you, they're in multiple interview phase with others. Some of their phases are shorter, some of them they're already further along. They may have contacted me. They may have contacted several agencies. They may have half a dozen things going at once. So the candidates, especially those that are desirable and that folks are after, that fit the talent needs of this market, have multiple things going at once. And some of these candidates, and I'm finding them hearing this more and more, are accepting your offer, but not ending the recruiting processes that they already had going. So they may accept your offer and sign on the dotted line, and then at the 11th hour, if they get another offer that they were really waiting on or that was better or from a company that's closer to home or for whatever reason, I'm having folks that are just declining offers at the last minute and taking the other job. They are playing the field. Got candidates coming to the negotiating table more than once. So offer comes, candidate, you small business owner, you offer exactly what you said you were going to offer in the beginning. The job is posted to X, I offer X. Candidate comes back and asks for Y. You offer Y. Candidate comes back and says, thank you for offering Y, but, I'm used to this kind of benefits where I was or where I am now. and I really don't want to take a step back in benefits. Your package offers this. Are you willing to do this and this for me? Candidates are accepting counteroffers from current employers with greater frequency. So I'm seeing that happen as well, far more often than it was, a year ago. I just think that the employers are starting to get alarmed that their talent is going, out the back door, and so they are putting counters out there and coming back with, better factors. And the demand for talent right now in this market exceeds the supply of available and viable talent. That's what I'm hearing, and that's what I'm feeling. What are companies doing to attract this talent? The ones we talked about that are the most competitive. They're increasing salaries. That's where it begins. They're starting to offer sign-on bonuses. They're starting to offer relocation assistance, not full-blown, we will put you in a corporate apartment and buy your house relo, but either some kind of receipt-driven reimbursement, like, we'll give you $5,000 relo if you could show us, the receipt for the moving expense, or, maybe it's just a flat $5,000 and you can do what you need to with it. You can use it for your move, you can use it for whatever, but this is what we're calling your relo. Beefing up benefits offerings. So they're, going back to the table with brokers and looking at more competitive health care plans, or sometimes offering some kind of a stipend on a monthly basis as an increase in pay to go towards some, benefit that the person can find privately that isn't available with them. More flexible vacation and sick policies, adding a week. I've got one company that I deal with, and what they decided to do was they offer something called a paid vacation. So they have their standard, 2 vacation weeks and 5, 6 days, but they also offer 1 week where they just pay you to be off. So they give you the week off and they give you $1,000. Go where you want to go. You work hard here. Here's your paid vacation. Increasing accoutrements, so folding in stuff like, small business, can't, really raise the bar on salary, but maybe gym memberships or, discounts at local restaurants or whatever, or, they have season tickets to, the game, and so they get those out. Something to incentivize. Marketing more creatively. We talked about the online piece, got a really sharp-looking website. They're using Facebook and Twitter. They're networking. They're getting the word out. They're visible, and they're self-promoting in the appropriate way. Monitoring and improving online presence and image. Google reviews, Glassdoor. Monitoring those things. Monitoring, reading, and being cautious. And then in situations where they can reach out, they're working to correct it. So, maybe they want to reach out to their satisfied customers and say, would you be willing to do a testimonial for us so we can put it on the website? Or, talking to their current employees. If you guys like it here and you think this is a great place to be, would you mind posting that on Google or posting that on Glassdoor? Leveraging referral networks to help make personal introductions. So talking to folks they know that are trusted resources or good connections or just people they do business with, and asking for personal introductions to talent. So, maybe they go to your LinkedIn, you go to somebody's LinkedIn page and you see that they're connected to somebody that works at a company that, would be really good talent for you. And you ask your friend, hey, do you know John? I saw that John works here and does that, and you're connected to him. He looks like the kind of guy, or she looks like the kind of gal we might want to hire at some point. Would it be okay to make a personal introduction? And aligning with third-party vendors like us, when necessary, to reach the right candidates faster, as opposed to a small company which is doing its business on a day-to-day basis that it needs to do. All an agency does all day long, every day, 52 weeks a year, is recruit. So we are subject matter experts in that space and can help you get to the right people, ideally, faster. What are companies doing when their talent's being assailed right now? They're panicking. They're reacting and then thinking. And some of that is happening with those counteroffers I was talking to you about. The person who you're countering may have already made an emotional decision to separate. And although they may come back for more money, that attachment may be lost, and we're probably going to still end up losing them in the next year. Counting with more money, counting with benefits upgrades, countering with more responsibility, we're going to have you oversee this department now. Or we're going to add another person to report to you. Countering with bigger titles. So, we're going to give you a promotion. Or instead of you being a director, we'll make you a senior director. Hiring before the company and or the team is ready. So we lose somebody, we feel like, oh my gosh, we lost that person in that department. We've always had 3 people in that department. Let's go ahead and bring somebody else in. And, you may be able to assess at that point, do we really need that? Can we run more efficiently? Is the team that this person just left ready for, they worked with this person for 3 years. Are they ready for that kind of a cultural change? Should we let it settle a little bit before we add someone? And they're hiring to fill a gap rather than hiring the right candidate. It just get somebody in to get them in.
They will.
And not assessing whether or not they're bringing the right talent in.
They will?
Yes.
So we're right up against our time, and I've got a couple of questions here that have come in. I want to kind of try to get through those. So
yeah.
You want to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So first, from me, again, selfishly, because we are one of the crazy people that do our own hiring. So single biggest mistake that you see companies like us who do our own hiring, what's the single biggest mistake you see folks like us make during the hiring process?
I would say that it's probably the length of the hiring process right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the short life cycle of these talented candidates in the pipeline. If you are not making sure that your hiring process is efficient, then you're leaking talent out of that process because you're not getting to them fast enough.
Yeah,
we've always hired this way.
When we get resumes in and we go back and hit them and we cull through and, oh, yeah, I've already taken a position. So, yeah, I would certainly agree with that.
And look, people have process, and process works. But for a lot of the small companies that are starting to hire more right now, maybe they haven't hired in a couple of years, and the job market was far different the last time they brought somebody in.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to try and figure out ways to abbreviate the process so you don't leak good people.
Mm-hmm. So here's another question. Where are companies finding the best candidates right now? List your best tip for the best source for talent.
I think right now, quite honestly, that it's happening through those referral networks.
Mm-hmm.
So those connections, recommendations, and friend of a friend, because those folks are going to have had a conversation with someone who's passively looking, and like, I'm not really happy here, and then they say, hey, well, you know what, I talked to this guy or this gal the other day, and she mentioned that she's considering other options, is fine where she is, but has got her eyes open, and she would be great for your company. I'm going to introduce the two of you. So as opposed to those folks that are the ones who are spraying their resume everywhere on the job boards like we were talking about, the referral networks, whether you're doing it on your own as a small business owner and tapping the people or you're contacting a vendor and you're kind of tapping in all the people we know, really through referral.
So, and here's one kind of, here's a softball for you. If somebody is going to look to outsource their hiring, I mean, what are some of the things that you would advise a small business to look for when trying to select a partner to help with things like that?
Well, we talked earlier about this a person doing their research and preparing appropriately for the interview. I mean, first thing you need to do is whether you're asking your network for recommendations or you're looking on your own through Google, just take a look at what the agency does and see if their strengths fit, what your needs are most likely to be. Take a look at the types of positions they're currently recruiting for and see if it appears like that they are currently after the types of folks that you will be after in the near term or hire with frequency when you do hire. And, is there a good match there? Look at their reviews online. See what folks are saying about them. The testimonials on their website are probably going to all be positive. But Google reviews and other things where folks are commenting on their experience, whether it's a client or a candidate, those are relevant. And then, reach out to them and see how quickly they get back to you. The outreach back from the agency shouldn't be a whole lot different than the interview process. If the agency responds to you quickly and shows some professionalism and seems interested and says, hey, we can help you, that's a great start. And because I work for a local small company and we target local small companies, what I am finding matters to my clients is, has the business been here a while? Do the employees at that vendor, the recruiters and the skilled folks have tenure? And do they work with other companies the same size as mine and in my industry sector? And so, if those things are in place, then that can really help with the decision-making process.
Awesome. All right, well, great. Listen, this was a lot of information, and I know I learned a lot, and have busily scribbled down a bunch of notes here on this, so hopefully this was just as helpful for everybody else that's out there. I know it is a tough, from experience, I know it is a tough market. We're always trying to look to add, the very best talent, and that can be, super challenging. So I appreciate you sharing your insights with us and our listeners here, and sounds like there's a bunch more meat kind of left on the bone. So, if you're open to it, we'd love to have you back for another time as well.
That'd be outstanding. I've really enjoyed it, and certainly I'm flattered by the opportunity. And to your point about the market, although it is challenging, it's wonderful. And as compared to other parts of the state and certainly other parts of the nation, we all live and work in a marvelous place. And I'm just feel so fortunate to be here, to be in the industry sector I'm in, and to be working for the company I work for. It's just it's an outstanding time.
Yep, I will second that. Awesome. All right, well, listen, thanks again so much, Will, and have an awesome day, and go to Team USA.
That's right. Let's win.
Thanks, Will.
See ya.